I watched one.
Okay, I think we're live. I hope this works out. If anyone is watching and can comment that we're like the right orientation, let us know. So anyway, this is right. Yeah. And if we're the wrong orientation, we'll stop and change it. So anyway, this is Emily, your friendly adventure racing race director for the Castlewood 8 Hour. Earl. We've got Tess here. We'll do a little. There she is. She just got to spend the weekend with Alex. She's pretty happy. Okay, so we'll get going tonight is biking and teamwork. So let's take it away. Let's bring the agenda.
Yeah, let's go through the agenda.
Okay, I'm gonna send around the little sign-in sheet, and then if you haven't gotten one of these coupons, let me show it to the camera too. This is 20% off any Osprey pack under $200. So if you need to grab one for yourself, a couple for your teammates, do that. Then just check your name off or write it in if it's not on the list. Okay, so today we're going to talk about biking and teamwork. We'll just run through some bike stuff too, and then kind of the rest of the evening is just like how to be a better teammate, which is like something you can always work on. So a little bit about bike anatomy. We're just going to do some super basics, and if this is too basic, you can all say like I know this and move on. Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Front of the bike. Over here. Back of the bike. Over back here. We're on that level, right? Okay. We've got the fork up here. This one has a suspension fork. Most of the bikes that we see at the Castlewood 8 Hour will have some sort of shock absorption device up here in the front. And so we've got a mountain bike here, so this would be classified as a hardtail because this is the only shock absorption portion that we have is just here in this front fork. We will have some full suspensions, which have another shock absorbing capability for the rear wheel, but those are a little bit more expensive, a little bit more complicated, so we just don't see quite as many of them up there. But we just pulled this bike off before today because this is like the classic, like what you need to handle the biking during the 8-hour adventure race. Okay. Yeah, maybe let's
do brakes and then we'll pull.
Okay, yes. So just a little thing about brakes. These have disc brakes here, so that's just like a car. It has a disc and then a caliper that squeezes to slow the wheels down. Same thing in the front. These ones, hydraulic. So these have some hydraulic fluid in there, which are like a little bit nice and easier to use. But you'll also see some like a manual caliper, which is like cable actuated. So that's what I used for a while until my bike came with hydraulic brakes. We will see a couple bikes out there that have like a rim brake. Those just aren't as powerful or effective, especially in wet conditions, because this area where the disc is kind of protected from mud, crap that gets on your tire. But if you have a rim brake situation that's right next to the tire, that's just going to get clogged up and slippery faster. So they'll get you through everything, but disc brakes, if you have the option, that's something that you'll want to look for on your bike. Rotate. Okay, so then just a little bit of anatomy about the drivetrain. So we've got the front chain rings up here. This one has 3, so this largest one is what you use for like pavement, flatter surfaces, and then as you get to the smaller chain rings in front, they get easier to pedal. So you have some flexibility up here. To move your chain from the different chain rings, you've got this front derailleur. So that's just another piece of equipment. This kind of just shifts the chain back and forth from where you shift up at your handlebars. Then we've got the rear derailleur back here that shifts the chain through the cog set in the back. This is like kind of the opposite of the front. So in the front, the biggest is the hardest, and then in the back, the smallest is the hardest or the most difficult to pedal. Really what you need to be aware of as far as the adventure race goes is just to make sure that your bike can, if you have front or rear derailleurs or both, that your bike can shift, that you have all of the gears that are available to you are usable. So take it out for a ride, you know, shift through everything, make sure everything is working and not skipping or your chain's jumping around or anything like that. And then just kind of be aware of, this is another like bottleneck point for debris, leaves, mud, sticks, especially this front derailleur up here. If it gets full of mud or like leaves or sticks or anything, it's just going to clog up your entire chain as it goes through the drivetrain, and it's just not a big deal. When it gets really bad and this is full of mud, then it'll start shifting on its own because there's so much debris and friction in this little tiny space. And that's when you definitely need to get off and try to clean things out a little bit. The other thing to be careful of, just during the race, but really anytime mountain biking, this rear derailleur back here is a little bit dainty. So it's just, it has a lot of, I guess, responsibility because it's just like helping manage your power through your whole cog set back here. So when you're shifting, you want to be able to kind of let off your pedals a little bit when you're shifting in the back. Just because if you have tension through your chain and you're trying to get this thing to move side to side, it's just kind of a recipe for things to go wrong. So if you have to climb a big hill and you're like, oh my gosh, my gear that I chose at the bottom of the hill is really now too difficult for me, I need to shift into an easier gear, just find a little spot on the hill where you can kind of let up on your pedal force a little bit, shift really quick, and then go back to pedaling hard up the hill, just to allow this whole system to adjust without as much load on it. That'll kind of help the longevity of your drivetrain. And then just be careful too with rocks, sticks. They like to kind of wedge in this area here. And if something happens that there's a wedge and your bike's trying to move forward and there's a stick here, this thing just will snap right off. It's designed to do that. There's a little sacrificial derailleur hanger right here. So it's designed to snap off so that your whole frame doesn't work. But then you have the challenge of what to do next. When we race in long races, we carry an extra piece, like a backup derailleur hanger here, so we can just replace that sacrificial hanger and kind of move on. But if you don't have that option, or you forgot, or lost, or you don't have the right one, then you have kind of your only other option is to shorten your chain up to be a single speed, and then you don't have the option of shifting anymore, which is a bummer, but you can still power through, you know, to get home. So just kind of keep your heads up for sticks and debris, especially some of the areas that we'll be riding in this year's course are a little off the beaten path. So it's not like perfectly groomed, buff, single track. You know, we do have some of that. We do have some pavement, but there's also some like kind of backwoodsy type stuff. So just when you're in that area, be aware of what's happening underneath your bike. What it is.
I guess one of the biggest things is that your drivetrain and your brakes are probably the most two important pieces of a bike. And so, you know, as we're training and getting ready for the race, finding stuff that isn't working correctly mechanically, this is the time to do it. Not 2 days before the race. You you know, just get your bikes up, ride them a little bit, make sure the tires full of air, you know, and doing your checking, and then just cleaning a chain and keeping a bike clean really goes a long way. It's just into maintenance and running smoothly. For cleaning a chain, I'll normally use like a WD-40 as the cleaner, not as the lubricant. WD-40 is not a lubricant. You can use it as a cleaner or like a degreaser to get all the stuff off the chain. And then there's different types of lube. I normally use like a synthetic.
Like a wet lube.
And there's a wet lube, and then there's a dry lube. Those kind of things. But clean and lube chain really helps the bike run a lot smoother. And you hear people out riding and you're like, the teammates don't really appreciate squeaky bikes too much either, you know. So
How to be a better teammate.
right.
Make sure your bike is like up to speed, ready to go, no issues.
Because that week as you're getting ready to go into the race, it's, how do I mitigate all these little potential small things that might pop up on the radar? And all of a sudden, Thursday, you're like, oh, my bike doesn't work. I know it hasn't worked for a month. Maybe I should have done that sooner type of thing. So just trying, as we're getting closer to the race time, it's like, what are these little things that could create more issues for me closer to the race, and how can I manage those now, and so that we're good to go closer to the race?
We have a bike maintenance special for everybody that's a part of the race too. Works out really great because kind of November or October, November time is like not peak bike repair time, so our shop is a little bit more free to handle bike inspections or whatever you need. So we have a coupon that we send out to all the racers, and then it's half off one of our standard tune-ups. So just something to encourage
Right, and basically we need to talk to Mike and Joe on that, but we'll probably open that up pretty soon, and then we cut off basically 2 weeks to 10 days before the race. Otherwise, we can't get them all done if everybody waits till the last week. But yeah, so then we're going to offer a discount on our multi-point tune and inspection. So
let's talk about tires before we. Here, I'll hold it. You want to talk about tires? Sure. Okay. What width do we have on here?
We are 27.5 by 2.3, so
Okay.
it doesn't look like a 2.3, but
Right.
it is.
Yeah. Okay, so tire selection, it can go from like the very basic whatever tires you have on your bike is adequate, or it can go to like, I'm going to change tires for every race, a different one in the front and a different one in the back to optimize my rolling resistance. There's different sidewall materials to either minimize the danger of sidewall tears or try to go super light. Like there's full subset of bike nerdiness happens just for tires. So just to kind of give some basic what you're looking for, like Earl said, these are 2.3.
Yeah, it's a narrow 2.3.
Yeah. So it's 2.3 inches wide, kind of at its widest point here. I would say that's about like on the wider side of for what you need for the race. We typically use for adventure races like a 2.1, 2.0, sometimes even a 1.9, like kind of in that range, just because you're really trying to find the happy medium of a tire that works well in the dirt and the single track, but also isn't going to be too slow on the pavement. So all of these knobs here are really going to help you, when you're off-road, but then when you have some pavement sections, it's like, they're not the most efficient. So you kind of always want to just try to find the happy medium between both sides of the spectrum. So yeah, I would say that like this, and like we said before, the tires that you have are fine. But if you want to dive into like, okay, I have 6 options, what should I pick? I would pick something that's like in the 1.9 to 2.1 range, and These are a little bit aggressive as far as knobs go for what I would choose for this race. So this is like definitely as beefy as you would need.
Yeah, I would, you know, for this race, I would not overthink tires. It's just like the main thing is that you have tires that aren't dry rotted on the sidewalls, and we're holding air. You know, and then we'll get into carrying a tube and all those kind of things here shortly. But yeah, just make sure that that's the biggest thing is that we're not having flat tires every time we go for a ride. It's like, oh, maybe we should do something about that. A tire is gonna lose air pressure. It's just that's the way it is. But if the bike sits for a week and they're completely flat, there's probably something wrong. But if you know, the other thing is always check your tire pressure before you ride. You know,
By that we mean like just give it a nice squeeze.
or if you want to put a pump on it, whatever you're comfortable with, but just, you know, find that happy place or what that tire pressure is, and you just want to kind of maintain it in that spot. So, and then, you know, there's these tires here are set up with tubes, and then there's tubeless tires. So, you know, we could talk all night about bikes, but we're just going to kind of just do a quick run through here. As long as this, right, as long as this is still up, so this here is what we call a basic tow system.
Yeah, I might move. Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So all this is, so this is a clean and simple tow design. So all this is.
What's towing?
Okay, so towing is, well, when we get into teamwork, we'll talk more about towing as well. But basically, a tow is set up so that if you have a teammate that's kind of struggling to keep up, you only want to tow when it's safe. So like going uphill where there's a shoulder or it's not a decent road, or you know on flat, descending, going downhill, off tow. We get into single track, off tow. You just want to be smart about that. Is what by towing, if you have somebody that's kind of struggling to keep up, all they do is just envision that both hands are on the handlebars. Normally just use a finger, grip it, and then this person is just kind of helping assist you, keeps you in the pace line, and the person in front is only working about 30% harder, if that, but they figure a 60 to 70% gain for the person behind, just because a couple of things, it keeps you on track, and mentally you don't have this falling off the back all the time, which is it can mentally beat you up a little bit. Where this time, and you're just not having to work as hard to keep up with the group, and especially on long climbs, you know, it just kind of keeps you on with the group, but you're not waiting, you're not falling back, and
you can talk to everybody.
You can talk to everybody, and then it helps you rebuild energy too, so you're not keeping to dig into the tank. You can actually come back into the positive through going through some tow. Sometimes you'll see a team where you have one lead person out and they're all on tow. We've done that. I've seen some really bad crashes doing that, but you know, it's just like you always want to just be. You want to practice too. Just don't show up to the race with a fancy new tow without practicing. Because obviously, you know, say, this sounds like a great idea, and then somebody just. Or if you're in kind of a group of people, of other teams, probably not the safest time to do that either. So you just want to be smart about it, but it can really help create some efficiencies. So all this is just a big piece of shock cord, and then just a lightweight piece of 3/8 plastic tubing that you can get at, I normally find it at Ace Hardware. It's just, comes in like straight tubes, probably like 5 feet or something like that. And you just kind of fit to cut. And then normally if I have it attached to my bike, I'll just normally do like a zip tie here to keep it in play. And it's super easy to just take on and off and just tie a knot on the seat post. bento box. Keep your food. Keep some food, snacks. Maybe a multi-tool or something like that. And then you have your water bottle cages here. Frame pump. I'd always recommend having somebody at least one person on the team have a pump and then CO2. You don't have to, I think it can come down.
I want to talk a little, we'll break it down. I want to talk a little bit more about the bento box. So this is something that, like, mountain biking is kind of borrowed from triathlon, which is cool. So anyway, I'm just gonna like hold it up here. So there's lots of different styles.
You're not on camera.
Oh, okay.
You just take it off.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Great. Okay, so there's lots of different styles of bento box. This is our favorite. It's a Revelate Designs. What is it? Gas tank? What do they call this one?
Yeah, gas tank.
But anyway, we just like it because it's like super simple. There's only two, like Velcro, easy on and off. You can cut the Velcro to exactly how long you want it. And then the zippers go on both sides, so you can open it with either hand when you're riding along. You can use your right hand, use your left hand, whatever. And then you get the full top to open up, so you can cram, like, you can fit at least 1,000 calories in here, probably 1,500, which is like maybe all you would need for the entire race to go in here. You probably don't want that because you want, your calories kind of spread out, some in your pack, some on your bike. But for longer races, it's just really nice to just cram this thing full and know, okay, when I get to my bike at hour 15, I know I'm gonna have a whole thing full of food, and it's like right there. But it's just really important to have a plan for eating on the bike, because if you have stuff in your pack, like maybe in your side pouches on your pack or shoulder pouches, it just can get kind of tricky to get those open, get the bars or whatever you're going to eat unwrapped. But if you're on a bento box, it's just a little bit more accessible. If something goes wrong, like your hand's right next to the bar, so you can kind of go back and forth pretty easily instead of like reaching around in your back. So just something to think about is when you're biking and you're using two hands, like how are you going to also feed yourself during that time, or feed your teammates, or whatever.
The other thing is like I'll just open up stuff that before I even not the night before, whatever, like you got some candy bar wrappers or some waffle stuff. Especially if your hands are cold or you're wearing gloves, it's harder to open stuff. So I'll just pre-open the packages, or just put stuff in there too, like cookies and that kind of stuff.
Like you can see it's kind of nasty in here.
You can wash it. It just hasn't been washed.
Like there's crumbs. Mine's the same way.
Yours is worse.
Yeah. I think there's like a piece of a payday peanut in there. Like, yeah, it's kind of gross, but whatever. Like, it's just food. Yeah. Great. Is that for me?
I have a question. Besides, and I'm sorry, squeaky voice, but besides the bike, because you answered one of my questions of, are you with all the gear all the time? But you said like you look forward to getting on your bike that's somewhere later. Like, 'cause I just know like the cadence of like swim, bike, run. So, are you with the rest of your gear all the time? Like, will you always have your pack, always have your stuff? The bike is the only thing that you're leaving.
So that's a good question. So if let's just say that you are out on your bike doing something, and we're like, oh, we're going to have you transition to an orienteering section on court. So at that point in time, you come into a transition area, the bike will stay, you'll be able to leave your bike helmet with your bike. And then like if you want to leave your bike hooks there, that'd be fine too. If you're one that's switching shoes, you can leave your shoes there. We need everything to be a nice, neat pile. We're going to have 300 bikes potentially at a transition area at certain points in time. 300 bikes. That's a couple bikes. So we just kind of need to have, the best thing is you're going to want to keep your team stuff together. So that when you come in and leave, all 4 of your bikes or 2 of your bikes are together. All of a sudden together. 3 bikes over there, 2 bikes over there, and you need to talk about what we're going to do. It's not going to happen. Plus, it's just also easier to have everybody come into the same spot, change together. It's easier to help each other out, like somebody can't get their shoe off or whatever it is. It's easier just to keep everybody together. So, but yes, so to answer your question, everything together, and then just kind of helmets, shoes, tucked by each person's bike. Yeah, and if we end up having a bike drop or something like that, you might want to consider just a simple trash bag or something, put some shoes in so they're not, or gloves or whatever, so they're not, if it's raining or we have a heavy dew that morning or something. You'll have the opportunity to take that bag away with you, but what's a garbage bag? Like, not.
You'll have the opportunity to take it with you. I mean, you have to take it with you.
But you might need it for something else. So, like if you're going out on a paddle, having a garbage bag to put some stuff in might not be a terrible thing. Or if it starts raining, maybe somebody wants to use it as a rain jacket. It's just, you never know what you might want to do.
Does that kind of answer what you're
thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, just any questions, just hold them out.
One other thing, I think we need the bike. Thank you. One other thing that we didn't point out, we have the bike model back here.
Right? Hi?
No, just down low. So one lucky individual on your team is also going to be having to navigate while you're riding bikes. And I forgot to bring my mat board tonight, but that's just something to start thinking about. Like, what are you going to do with this piece of paper? It's probably going to be, if you're using the main map that we give you, it'll be a waterproof piece of paper, but still, it's a piece of paper. It's probably going to be 18 by 36, like, it's kind of big. What are you going to do with that when you're trying to ride your bike and keep up with your team and feed yourself? So some teams, there's a product called a mat board that's out there, so that it has like it's like an aluminum bracket that attaches to your handlebars, and then it has a plastic corrugate surface with some bungee cords on it, so that you can attach your map to this nice flat surface that it's easily visible right here in front of you. So that's kind of like the fancy way to do it, is buy one of these things pre-made. But the other option is to actually make your own. So it's always like kind of a fun entertainment to see like what teams have come up with how to attach their map to their bike. What did you guys do last year?
Still wore around my neck. Fumbling with it the whole time.
Oh, okay. So how did that? Explain a little bit more.
So I just had my map around my neck. And
You had like a waterproof case
yeah,
that had
I had a
a.
waterproof case over it. So every time I needed to look at it, I had to pull it up and fold my map over, and it was really hard when I had this. So luckily, I studied the course enough the night before.
So this is what
yeah, I
you
had
got to
that
deal
around
with,
my neck.
right? See, this is a waterproof map case, which a lot of people like to use, and it works really good in the boat or when you're out orienteering on foot. But what people do is take a lanyard, put it on your neck, or when you're biking. But when you're biking, you're kind of hunched over, so now it's sitting like here. And
I put mine upside down the first time. I didn't realize it, so I started riding and then fell out.
And then basically anytime you need to look at it, you're going to have to, you're going to sit up like this or stop. Whereas if you have some sort of contraction, you just get a basic clipboard.
Where'd that go? Oh, I've got it. Order. So like, you might want to look for something a little bit lighter than this, but even just a clipboard, you can do some like zip tie, or we've seen coat hanger attachments, and then you have a little like place to clip your map. You might want to put another rubber band on the bottom to keep your map from flapping up and down. And kind of, if this was me and I was using a clipboard, I'd cut this in half just to like keep it a little bit more compact. But anyways, just think about your strategy for map reading and biking. Some people make some like PVC frames, like there's all sorts of like go to, you know, Ace or Home Depot or whatever and, you know, spend $10 and you have an evening of entertainment of building a mat board.
There's a lot of YouTube videos on that too.
Oh, yeah, yep. So yeah, that's just something, one more item of consideration that's specific to adventure racing. Okay, we got bike anatomy, tires, components, pedals. We've kind of talked about that before. If you have flat pedals like that and you're going to wear the same pair of shoes the whole time, awesome. If you have like mountain bike pedals that are clipless but you actually like click into, you have separate mountain biking shoes, that's great. Just be sure that you have the capacity in your pack to carry your mountain bike or your trekking shoes while you're biking. So, or like a carabiner to clip them on the outside of your pack. Just make sure whatever you do is secure because we all have that one friend that did a 10-mile trekking section in bike shoes because they lost their trekking shoes.
Normally they lose one.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. You lose one. Not two, just one.
So, you know, just imagine how your feet feel after that. A little bit of just strategy as far as road riding versus trail. When you're on the road, you just if there's a space on the shoulder to draft, you're going to want to do that so that the pace line of 4 people, you know, front tire to rear tire, front tire to rear tire, all in line so that you kind of gain some aerodynamic efficiencies. And you always want to be riding on the right side of the road like you're a car. If you're turning, you need to use hand signals, like we don't close the roads. If there's an especially busy intersection, we'll have a police officer there, but they can always leave if there's an emergency, so you just need to, you know, be a lawful, abiding cyclist during the race. There's no special privileges. And then on the trail, we found that it's usually best to have your strongest rider go first on the trail. So if there's, you know, single track and you have someone who's just like more confident over rocks or roots or whatever, it's kind of nice to send them first because first of all, they have a little bit of extra energy and extra time to look for whatever checkpoint or landmark you're looking for, maybe a trail junction that you need to find. So you can kind of send them on ahead to do a little scouting. Of course, like you need to keep your team together, but just to have that person in front is a good idea.
Still need to stay within rules of travel on the bike. So basically line of sight or 100 feet.
Yeah.
And the other thing is if somebody just kind of goes off on their way, it really doesn't help you guys either because basically if the stronger, more accomplished mountain biker is in front, he can call things out too, like stay right, stay left, you know, because all of a sudden if you stay right or stay left, you become all of a sudden it's something that you can now ride through, whereas if you were just like all of a sudden you rolled up on it, you're like, now I have to get off. But if you can call those things out to where your teammates can hear it, it's just kind of a nice sharing thing. And then, you know, if you know that there's a checkpoint or something calling out, you know, do that too. So we can talk more about that in teamwork as well. So.
Yeah. And then it just kind of helps psychologically sometimes. Like, I feel like I always ride better when I'm riding with my friends who are better than me. Like, I see them go over something and it's like, oh, it's actually not that scary. Or, you know, well, they can do it, I can do it too. So it's just also a little bit psychological to see someone ride over some sort of rock in the trail, and then you're like, well, if I was by myself, I might be scared, but I just saw my friend do it, so I'm going to do it too. Just helps keep the team moving along. Done. So I think that's kind of most of our bike stuff. What are?
Through saddlebags.
Oh yeah, what do you have in your saddlebag, Pearl?
So this is a saddlebag that normally mounts underneath the rear seat. So there's all kinds of fun things in here. So two, want to make sure the tube fits your bike. So you just want to make sure that, you know, if you have a 29er or a 26,
or the 650B.
or the 650B, you carry your own tire. You can force the other ones in something, but it's not optimal. You can make a 26 fit a 29er, not optimal. Going and then the big ones into the small ones get really complicated. So two CO2 cartridges. Always try to carry at least two. Multi-tool. And then I'll normally carry a multi-tool with a chain brake, so if you do have derailleur issues, you can break a chain and make a single speed and keep going. Patch kit. This is like a tire boot or a sidewall boot, so if you rip or tear a sidewall, a lot of times a goo wrapper or a wrapper will also work, or a dollar bill will work to help you do that. Tire lever. Then you want if you're going to carry CO2, you need at least one inflator. What we'll do is for a team of 4 people, we'll carry 1 or 2 inflators, and then everybody carries around CO2. You don't need 4 inflators. And this is a derailleur hanger. And then I also carry a plug repair kit for tubeless tires. It's just the cord that you can insert into you have a hole that's not terribly big, you can just insert the cord in, and then that will plug that hole. That only works for tubeless tires. I think that's all I got crammed in this. Any questions on spare? Oh, red blinky. That's a mandatory here. Any questions on? Pretty sure. Okay.
Okay. So the next part of our evening, we get to talk about teamwork. This is kind of something that can take. It can make or break your whole race experience. You can have a team of 4 like really fit individuals, and they're terrible teammates, and they don't do very well competitively. And they might even not like each other at the end of the race. So that's not really the way that I like to spend my Saturdays, is not having a good time. I like to, it's the weekend, right? Like, this is what we go to work for. So you just want to kind of think about teamwork is it's a free skill. It doesn't cost money to buy it. There's no carbon fiber teamwork that will make you lighter and faster. It's totally free, and it really can take an average team to do really incredible things just because they're great teammates. So kind of the first tenet of any sort of team is to communicate what's happening to the team, to the individual members, and you can get as detailed as you want with what you want to communicate. Usually more is better, but kind of critical things to communicate are if you're feeling bad and if you're feeling good. Because the people who are feeling good are going to have a little bit of extra energy to help the people who are feeling bad. Usually what we mean by feeling bad is your stomach is funny, you just feel like you might need to throw up or poop or something. That's usually bad feelings. If you're just tired, your legs are cramping, or you're just kind of out of gas. That's something you definitely want to tell your teammates. And then if you're feeling good, you want to say that too. And just to let everyone know, not in a I'm feeling so good, haha, but I'm feeling good, what can I do to help? What I kind of think of too is you also want to like just deliver this information in a helpful way. So kind of an example that comes to mind is when we've been racing, thank you. When we're racing as a 2-person or a 3-person or 4-person team, and we're biking and we're in a pace line on the road, typically, like, I'm not the strongest biker out of my team, so I'm on the end of the tow line. And back there, especially if it's a 4-person team, it's usually pretty easy. Like, you're in the draft of 3 people, you're getting towed, like, you're also reasonably fit yourself, so it's like, okay, I'm not really working hard. So you want to tell your teammates that you're not working that hard, but you also don't want to, like, yeah, guys, like, you're not even pedaling that hard. This is just, like, so easy. So you just want to kind of frame it in a way like, okay, if you want to go faster, I can handle it, but you don't have to. If this effort level is what is best for the team right now, like, you're also happy to do that, because then you can just bank energy for later. So just, yeah, communication is really key. Just about your energy levels, attitudes. You're feeling like sad and you might need to cry, like, that's also what you go through during these races, and just like say, like, I need to cry, I'm just going to be back here doing that, I'll still keep moving, but it's not, you hear like some sobs, it's just, that's how it is. And then maybe that'll encourage one of your teammates to come and like walk with you or ride with you or something, and then you get over that part faster also. Some kind of keys or like tools that you can use to communicate is just a 1 to 10 system of like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? You can decide if 1 is bad or 10 is bad, but just, you know, it kind of helps everyone work off the same base information. So if you're a 10, it means like, I'm ready to carry everybody's pack and charge ahead. And if you're a 1, it's like, I really want to sit down right now and take a break. So just anywhere where you are along that scale, it just kind of helps everyone, kind of give a little bit more objective feedback about what they're feeling. And it's good to do that, but you just don't want to do it too much, because it gets really annoying every 20 minutes. How you feeling? 1 to 10. How you feeling? 1 to 10. It's like, oh my gosh, I was a 7 5 minutes ago. Like, I'm still a 7. Okay. So just keep that in mind too. You can over communicate. It's hard to do, but it's possible. And also, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, if you're a 1 or a 2, like, say, I'm a 1 or a 2, and it would really be great if someone could carry my stuff for a while. And it's really hard. It's really hard to admit sometimes that you need help and you're not doing so good, and especially like something that adventure racers, I feel like, are very sensitive about is giving up their pack. It's like, it's a very visible symbol of, I'm not doing good, and so I have to give my stuff to someone else. But even if you just do that for 10 minutes, it can help. Like, we've been in races where it's hot and we're all overheating, so we just pick one person, doesn't have a pack, unzip your jersey, get all ventilated for 10 minutes, and then you just kind of rotate through just to help everyone keep their heart rates down a little bit, and kind of what goes around comes around there, because you could be really needing help, and then half an hour later or 2 hours later or 2 days later, you're totally flip-flopped and someone else needs your help and you're ready to go.
That or just take something out of somebody's bag. I mean, it's like, take the heavy stuff, don't just take like a space blanket. Oh, I'm helping you out. Like, there's some stuff in, food is heavy, and just take the food, and water is heavy. Or if you end up taking the pack, just make sure that person, they can either drink off of your hose or have their hose so it's available for them to go. And one of the biggest reasons that people start lagging behind or falling behind is what? Nutrition. So that's the first thing that we need to talk about is why, okay, I'm not feeling great. Okay, we know that. What can we do to make it better? Food, dew, some E-caps, those kind of things, just get them some food that's going to really process fast, but not upset the stomach too much, Drews are probably one of the fastest ways to get you going again, but it can blow up a stomach so fast, so you gotta be careful with those. But you know, just quick energy is good. And we know tested out many times. It's like that's the first thing we do is when you start falling apart. Like when's the last time you ate something? And it's a good question. You know, and just having some collective like.
Tess wants to remind us that she hasn't eaten in too long. Oh, we have the code. Awesome.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks.
Bye, Alex. I'll see you next time.
Oh, I miss you already. Let's see. Okay, another way that you can help your teammates. Okay. This is like kind of a little, like, I don't know, sensitive, but you can hold their hand. So the first time that I feel, I didn't know really about holding hands until I raced with Earl, and this was like before we were even dating. And we were racing together, and I was having trouble getting up some big hills, and he's like, here, let me hold your hand. And I was like, this is funny, I don't know, like, but I'm struggling, so I'm just gonna hold his hand. And it really helps, like, it's kind of like the same thing as towing. It's the physical assistance to get up a hill, but it's also like the mental, like, okay, my teammate's right here with me, you're not leaving me behind, like, I'm totally part of the group. So that's another, like, free...
Or the other thing is like if a pack has something like this, you just have this pack on, and we're walking.
Oh, yeah.
And we're walking.
Yes, we're walking.
You can just grab a loop or something off the back of the pack. Let the person know that you're going to do that, though. Otherwise, it's kind of, what's going on back there? That's another option that you can do really quick. We also do make like trucking tows, but like an 8-hour race, I don't know that I really worry about that. But you know, just a short piece of shop cord that you can hook between, hook the back of a pack and then go to the waist belt or sternum. Other things to do that.
I've spent like miles, like 20 miles on a trekking tow during a race, like, and it just, it's kind of like an ego blow, so you just have to be prepared for that, but you just have to put it aside and like, okay, is my team moving faster when I'm on a tow? Yes. I'll stay on the tow until I've like recovered my energy, like you just do it. Okay. Medical issues. I mean, when we say medical, it's primarily like skin, blister type issues. That's something you also want to communicate to your team. You're getting some sort of hot spot, which is like the precursor to a blister. Your skin's getting irritated because there's too much friction around potentially your heel or the ball of your foot or one of the tops of your toes. You just want to call that out right away and so you can address it. What we'll do to address those kinds of issues is if it's not bad and the skin isn't too irritated or broken yet, you can just put a piece of duct tape over that particular hot spot. And that usually just takes away that friction. If it's more serious and you kind of have to do a little bit more taping, but if you've trained with the same shoes that you're going to wear, shoes and socks, then you should kind of be clued into what your trouble spots are. Other medical issues.
So we talked about these before, but and Emery's already talked about stomach issues before. I'll just carry Tums, and a couple of those in 20 minutes will normally help neutralize most stomach issues. So you know, just simple things that we carry animal, bail out eggs.
Another thing to communicate about is kind of your race plan. So specifically, like, where are you going? How long is it going to take to get there? Like one like really classic example is at our race that we did in New Zealand this spring. We had kind of it was a huge trekking section, and our teammates were kind of ahead of us because they were both like really fast walkers, and I'm not a very fast walker, so I had to jog a lot to keep up with the team. and it was at night, and we were kind of following this creek, and the two of us thought we're gonna follow this creek for a while, turn up one of the like feeder creeks, climb up to a mountain, get a checkpoint, come down the other side, and we're gonna be in TA. So we're like, okay, like this is a little bit gnarly, but we can handle it. Climbing up to the top of the mountain, like it was a scree.
This was a 36-hour foot section.
Yeah, it was like scree, mountaintop.
Day
and,
4, by day 4.
yeah. And so it was dark, it was cold, the weather was kind of rolling in, so we were all a little tense, like, are we gonna get caught at a bad spot elevation-wise with this bad weather? No. So we get up to the top, and it's cold, but we're thinking like, okay, we're just gonna get up here, punch a checkpoint, roll down the other side, we'll be in TA pretty soon. So we didn't put any clothes on, because we're like, no, short term, but then like we just kept going on this ridge, and we kept going on this ridge, and like finally we caught up with our navigator, and we're like, hey Peter, how long are we up here anyway? And he's like, oh, at least another 10K. And we're just like, what? Like, it was totally, like, we just didn't have that section of the race communicated to us about how to prepare for it. So when we heard that, we're like, okay, we're gonna put our rain pants on, we're gonna put our gloves on, put an extra top on. Like, now that we have this information, we can better, you know, prepare to move as fast as we can on this terrain. So if you know that, okay, everybody, we're gonna be on a long section of single track coming up, like, grab a bite to eat when it's easy to eat now versus on the trail when it's all bumpy. Or if you're gonna be like trekking up a huge hill, like you might want to just tell your teammates, like, hey, see the top of that hill? Like, that's where we're going. Just kind of helps everyone feel part of the group and like knowing what to expect as you go through the day versus just kind of blindly being pulled and tugged along the course without really knowing what's happening to you. So yeah, just communicating about the course, and then communicating about what's going to happen when you reach a transition area or a TA. Who's going to do what? So kind of one of the most complicated TAs that we have is people will bike in to a boat ramp, and then they have to get in the boats with their bikes and paddle out. So you've got to find 2 canoes. I mean, they're not hidden, but you have to like pick out 2 canoes, get 4 this is for a 4-person team, 2 canoes, 4 paddles, 4 PFDs. You're gonna break your bikes down, you're gonna have to take out the front wheels or whatever, like that's kind of complicated. And then everyone needs to be in their right spots and not, you know, tipping over or getting in front of other teams. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. So as you're approaching that TA, it really helps to take a couple minutes and be like, okay, we're coming up to TA number 3. It's going to be bike to paddle, and we need to paddle with our bikes. So, you know, someone's going to be in charge of getting paddles and PFDs. Someone's going to be in charge of getting boats, what the plan is. Just all of those things, kind of talking through it so that you don't get there and it's just like mass chaos. You end up with 16 paddles and 2 PFDs and 1 boat. It's like, it can happen. So just prepare your team as you're rolling into a transition area or walking in or paddling in or whatever. This is what we're going to do, and this is who's going to do it.
And hopefully you already talked about this Friday night once. So this recap is very important. But it's very important to have the recap. Or if you forgot to talk about it Friday night, that's fine, but it's good to talk about it again now. But even if you talked about it Friday night, it's still best to talk about it again as you process the race. And if there's any special gear that we might need to do, or hey, make sure we're eating when you're changing your shoes, those kind of things. And you know, or like, hey, I'm gonna get everybody's food, or you know, just kind of.
Remember, someone needs to punch the passport at these things. Like, that often goes forgotten.
And always check. Let's just say that we have a checkpoint when you're getting on the water. All of a sudden you're a mile down the river and you're like, hey, who punched the passport? Nobody. You're not going to paddle back a mile to get it. You can, but most people aren't. So it's like, whenever you're kind of going through transitions before you leave or as you come in, who's punching? And just call those out. That's kind of important.
Yeah. Another thing you can talk about is pee breaks. It really helps. You've all been in road trips where you all go in the rest stop or the gas station, everybody pees, everyone gets back in the car, and off you go. It's like pretty efficient. What's not efficient is if you stop at every single gas station like 1 mile apart to let one person use the bathroom. So if you have to use the bathroom, first of all, like if you're peeing in the woods, you need to be like respectful of private property, or like you can't just like pee on the side of a road where there's a bunch of cars. Like that's not legal. And we have had issues with that in the past. So like just pick your head up and make sure there's really no one around. But if you have to go, like just say, hey everybody, I'm gonna pee. Does anyone else need to go? And then everyone can pee at the same time. You've stopped once and off you go. Another kind of important thing is to talk about food. If you're eating something, you want to remind your teammates to eat as well. Some people do like the 20-minute recurring alarm on their watch, just to beep every 20 minutes, and then everyone eats for 30.
If you're going to do the recurring alarm in an hour, it's probably the best.
Yeah. And just make sure you tell people that too, because if you haven't raced with someone who uses a food alarm, and then they do, it's like every 15 minutes there's a beep, and it gets old.
An hour's
Yeah. And then while you're eating, make sure you're checking with your navigator and asking them, like, have you ate enough yet? Because navigating is it's hard, and you have your hands full of, you've got the map, maybe you have the map and the compass in your same hand, maybe you have them in 2 hands, like, you just got a lot going on with your hands, and your focus, like, you're really mentally in it. And so you just forget to eat, and then it kind of comes crashing down on you later on in the race. So if you're eating something and you're next to the navigator, just like, here, bite, and off you go. Just makes everything kind of roll a little smoother. Earl kind of talked about this before, but just shared or distribute the weight amongst the team. Your weaker athletes should be carrying less weight. It's pretty obvious. And that, when I say weaker athlete, like we always know like that can change at any time. Like you have one person who you think probably is that person at the start line, and it could totally flip 180 degrees at the finish line. So just always be communicating about who's strong, who's not, sharing gear or switching gear around. You don't need to go crazy like to the ounce, but you can either move dry bags around with stuff or just share or have someone carry their pack for a little bit. You want to talk about helping the navigator?
Oh, yeah. So if you are a navigator, which is normally not me,
You should have it.
it's not my thing. I wish it was, but we're okay. But for a navigator, if you are looking for key features, and you know what it is on the map, you know what it is, but your teammate doesn't know. Your teammates don't. But if you tell them that say, hey, you know, in 100 meters, we're going to be looking for a trail junction off to our right. Or we're going to be looking for power lines. Or, you know, a bridge. Or in 2 miles, we're going to be looking for Johnson Street. Those types of things. Now you have 3 other sets of eyes that aren't even looking at a map, looking for these features. Whereas when your face is in the map, you might look down at the map and we went by the feature. But if you're calling those out as the day progresses, it just kind of helps everybody. You're working together as a team better, but you have everybody working for the same goal, and you feel like you're participating, knowing what you're looking for. You know, and the other thing is in most cases when we're racing, the person punching the passport is not the navigator, because the navigator is trying to get the map reoriented and figure out the next best attack point to the next control. You haven't figured out in the office or wherever you're doing your math. But the train in real life may look a little bit different than what you think it is. So that's another thing to keep the punching and moving faster is the navigator just kind of hold back, and we don't want all 4 team members all huddled around there when we're punching
Like
either.
we're here, we touched it. Like
So just have
leave
the
one.
person that's punching, have them go in, everybody else can stand back out of the way and figure out that. And if you're the only team that's out of control, send that person in, punch, and everybody kind of move off to the side, but then don't hang out there. Because what are you doing? You're directing other teams into what you work so hard to find. They'll appreciate you for that, but it's like, just kind of keep moving, but know where you are before you move. Because the control point is always that given, if you're at the right control. It's always that given that you know exactly where you are in a map. Or if you find the wrong control, don't punch it. But now you know where you're at, you're just not where you thought you were at. So you can use those as a catch sometimes. We've done that many times.
So yeah, basically, I know you guys got to get the drift, but basically, what can you do to make the slowest person at any one point in time move faster? Because you can't separate, not a relay. Your time doesn't stop until your last teammate is across the finish line. So what is it that you can do? Is it verbal encouragement? Is it physical assistance? Is it sharing some resources, food or water or sports drink or whatever? You just kind of always have to have that in the back of your mind. And it's what can you do as a giver of assistance or teamwork, but also you need to be able to receive it as well. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is just be like, yes, I need help, and I will accept it. Because, I've said it a million times, when I'm not feeling good, my pack is already empty because my teammates are carrying all my stuff, and Earl will say well, I'll just take your pack and you can cool off or something. I'm like, no, I need my water, I need my food, it's not heavy anyway. It's it's really hard to accept that help sometimes, but you just gotta do it. It just makes your day even more fun. And if here's our #1 teammate here, always willing to offer you a tail wag or ear perk or whatever you need, right? Yeah. And then I guess one more closing point is there could be some conflict out there, arguing. If you usually what we see arguing wise is people trying to decide 2 different ways to go to the same point. And all that does is waste energy. So, and you kind of don't think of it all we're doing is arguing, that's not that hard, but it really does drain your kind of emotional energy. So, you obviously want to avoid that. If you feel yourself getting frustrated or I'm really ticked off and I can't continue anymore, you got to figure out how to redirect that somehow, because you're just, negative energy is just slowing everyone down. So, keep it positive, ask for help when you need it, give help when you're able to give it, and remember that nobody's getting rich doing adventure racing, so it's just something fun to do on a Saturday. It's pretty unique, pretty tough, but pretty awesome too.
Questions?
Do people wear bike shorts?
Yes, that's what I was saying. I
I
brought them up for the, so is what they strap these up, shout, for shorter races like this race, or an 8-hour, 12-hour, 24-hour race where we're not normally changing clothes, tri-short is kind of what we go to. It just has a smaller shaming, and it gives you a little bit of protection, but then it will also dry out, whereas a roadside chamois or a mountain bike chamois, you get water in those and it's just going to take forever to dry out. So, just kind of your less is best chamois for something like this is probably the best. Whatever you have is going to be fine.
As long as you try it biking and running.
Right. Or if you want to change for this race, you can change. But yes, most people probably wear some sort of bike short.
What else?
Bikes and boats again.
We haven't really made the official
We're
announcement.
still doing some fine tuning of course design. We'll let you know when we know.
Keep the mystery. What else?
Right now, we are pretty much almost full.
Yeah, we are up to I think 292 racers. I mean, it's not. So it was a little bit complicated to talk about registration because it's, you know, I don't have 292 people registered, but there's enough teams that are signed up that that's how many we're gonna have. So there's only like a couple spots
For teams.
left. So yeah, if you know of anyone who's on the fence, tell them that their time is near and you need to commit or not. Like if they want to come volunteer, we always need those people too. Actually, this year we have, we kind of learned, last year we had pretty much the best media crew that we've ever had. We had two amazing photographers, Jake Trost and Dan Singer. Jake actually works here at the Alpine Shop. He does all the trail run photos for us. So we asked him to come out to the adventure race and he does. And we have Dan Singer who comes out, who's like amazing cycling and outdoor photographer. And then we actually brought our friend Randy Erickson in, and he's from Rapid City, South Dakota, or that area. But he's been to pretty much every major expedition race in the world. Like he travels all over. He got us some amazing drone footage. And the best part about it is he like shoots during the race and then goes and edits real quick. And so before the teams even finish, there's like, oh, here's a 1-minute video of what we did today. So it's really cool. So he's coming back. I don't know what was the point in saying that.
It's fun to say.
Yeah.
So,
We
so
just-
yeah, so
Yeah.
I read.
Oh, I know. Sorry. All right, keep going.
You're gonna. So.
So anyway, we learned last year that each of those people, it really works best if they have like their own driver. So like we need people that will, like you don't have to pay for gas or anything, but we need people to help drive our media people around. I usually, if we have extra volunteers, I usually ask for a driver so that I can like text and update social media while we're going back and forth. So it's like, I mean, we need racers, but we need volunteers too, and there's some really cool jobs that you get to see a lot of the course too. So then that was okay. Cool. It looks like Tess is ready for nap. Sunday night. Probably football still on.
Got the blues on down there.
Blues on or in the
Blues are on down
corner
there.
in the ski shop. So
Any like gear or shopping questions that anybody might have?
waving to JVD. We're gonna sign off, but see you later.